Hey there, Canadian sports world and sports world around the world. Today we are going to take a look back at the week that was in sports. We got some hot stories to talk about here. So I welcome you to another episode of True North Sports Talk, your heartbeat for Canadian sports passion. But again, we cover stories from all around the world. I am your host, Peter Barclay, and today we are going to unpack with 3 riveting stories the electrifying week that was. So the big stories that we have making headlines this week is the Indiana Pacers forced a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. That game takes place tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if you're a baseball fan, this won't be a shocking story, but there was a big blockbuster trade in baseball this week with Rafael Devers going from the Boston Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. The Stanley Cup was also handed out, and during the celebrations on ice and during the parade, Lord Stanley took a bit of a beating after the Panthers' back-to-back title party. So for Canadian fans this week, it hits home. The Raptors' draft hopes hinge on tonight's game a little bit, based on some trades that have happened in the past. So yeah, we need to know where that pick is going to be. The Blue Jays, they'll be facing a bit of a different Red Sox team in the East next time they face them. And the Edmonton Oilers, their near miss keeps Canada's 32-year Cup drought in the spotlight. So we'll break down these stories with analysis, we'll question the narratives, and we would love to get your takes on some of these stories. So without further ado, let's dive into the first story of the week, and that will be the NBA Finals. We have Game 7 with the Pacers versus the Thunder, and they are headed to Game 7, and tonight it's on 8 p.m. in Canada here. It's found on Sportsnet. Thanks to the Indiana Pacers' 108-91 demolition of the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 6 on the 19th. Jalen Williams led with 32 points, and the Pacers outscored Oklahoma City 68-41 in the second half, forcing this winner-take-all clash in Oklahoma City. This series has been hard fought. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. Indiana trailed 3-2, but their bench, led by TJ McConnell's 18 points, was able to flip the script. The Thunder, favored after their 120-109 Game 5 win, they looked pretty invincible with Canada's own Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 30-point average, but their 21 turnovers in Game 6 led to a bit of a setback and gave Indiana 22 fast break points. Tyrese Halliburton will be nursing a calf injury going into this game, and it was still in the last game. He was able to dish out 11 assists, showing his playmaking edge despite a quiet game. So, Oklahoma City's lack of focus was considered a grave danger, and the question is, are they cracking under the pressure, or is this just a blip for the young core? And for Canada, this matters because the Raptors, with an 8th overall pick in May, that's where the draft lottery ended up. That's where the bingo balls landed. They could benefit if Oklahoma City loses, because lower seeds often yield better picks. But I don't know. Pascal Siakam is a Toronto alumni, and he is one of the driving forces in Indiana's attack. He averages better than 21 points in 8 of the 16 playoff games, and this could inspire the Raptors to target a similar dynamic big man. But I'm skeptical of the Pacers as underdogs hype, because they have outshot Oklahoma City from 3, especially in Game 6, and they lead the postseason at a 47% clip on corner threes. So let's see. I think that Indiana could bring home a title to Indiana tonight. Oklahoma's youth may be an issue, and they may need another year of seasoning to finally bring home the Larry O'Brien trophy. However, sometimes youth is an advantage, because you can just kind of, how do you put it? It's just go, adrenaline, and there's no deer in the headlights sometimes. It's fight or flight, and who knows, maybe Oklahoma City needs that pressure to create the fight in them, and they may come away with the Larry O'Brien trophy. Alright, let's switch some gears here and switch over to the diamond, and let's talk Rafael Devers. This trade was probably only a shock based on the timing of it. It wasn't exactly expected this soon. Now, those of us in baseball probably expected this a little bit closer, maybe a month from now, that Devers would receive a trade. Now, the fact that he recently, in the last year or two, signed a gargantuan contract with the Boston Red Sox also kind of made this a tricky deal for either side to win, really. And it was almost like the unmovable object for the Boston Red Sox. Now, all of this could have been avoided for Boston had they just been a little more, at least from the reports I've heard, communicative with Rafael Devers from the beginning. Also, why do you sign a redundant guy in Alex Bregman when Bregman was not willing to change positions for your face of the franchise? So they end up sending him to the San Francisco Giants, and really, what did they get back for their franchise player? Now, Jordan Hicks, having played for us up here north of the border with the Blue Jays, is an amazing phenomenon. He averages 102 on his fastball. But is he willing to go back to the bullpen, or are they planning on starting him? Kyle Harrison, that's kind of a question mark. Prospects James Tibbs III and Jose Bayo, there's not a lot there yet. Now, those guys may turn out to be something, but it lacks the punch that a guy of Devers' stature should have netted as a return. The Red Sox should have got a big league starter, both in the field, maybe a pitcher too, for a guy who commanded $300 million. So this trade, from Boston's standpoint, it got rid of a cancer, but it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of choice. Like, make a whole lot of sense. Now, this weekend, the Giants and the Red Sox have been playing each other, and Devers hit a home run at least once so far this weekend. And so that's the thing, is it's his first home run with the Giants. And I guess the only thing really good that came out of this, beyond getting rid of his attitude, was saving the $315 million that was remaining on Devers' contract. Now, does that signal a rebuild for Boston? I think it's more of a reset. And the Giants, they get a pretty solid piece to build their lineup around that helps them to grow going forward and bring them a little bit closer to the mid-2000s glory that they had. Breaking it down, Hicks brings a 3.88 ERA, and he brings, as I mentioned, a lot of heat. Harrison has a 4.10 ERA this year, and he has some upside to lower that going forward. Tibbs and Bayo are pretty raw talents. Tibbs is hitting 300 in the minors right now, and Bayo's a bit of a project or a lottery ticket at this point. At this point, or at the time of the trade, Boston was on a bit of a run. They're at 32-28 before today's action, and they were 6 games back of the wild card. The Giants, on the other hand, are 35-25. They gain a cornerstone for that for that trade. And as Bob Nightingale suggests, this is short of a fire sale, but is it? Trading a 28-year-old mid-season, that's rare. Only 12 All-Stars have moved teams since 2000. And that's a StatMuse stat, so I'm not sure 100% the accuracy on that. For the Blue Jays, they are battling in the same division, and it's a bit of a mixed bag for them. Devers' departure, that weakens Boston somewhat for Toronto. And with Toronto's pitching issues, and anyone who watched the game this afternoon, those were on full display once Bassett was lifted from the game. Certain pitchers came in and they did well, but at the end of the day, that bullpen, it was in a bit of trouble today. Alright, so let's see. The Jays farm system, it's near the bottom too, so they're not going to be able to be active the way a team like San Francisco might have been. And so it's a bit of a stretch that the Jays are going to do much. But dumping Devers mid-season feels a bit, I wouldn't say panic, but to me it's a bit of a, we just want to get rid of this headache. It feels like an aspirin, as I said, on the headache. The Jays may be able to slide in somewhere now that a big chip is off the board in a place they may not have been able to. And for the next month of the season, up till July 31st, it's going to be a very interesting time to be a baseball fan, to see all the moves that teams are willing to make. Alright, switching over to the ice. One of the last things that we'll have to talk about, other than the draft when that comes about, and other than free agency on July 1st when that comes about, the last thing we have to talk about till then is Lord Stanley and the little bit of a beating he took up for being awarded to the Florida Panthers. And their win over the Oilers, their celebration left the good old cup. It was dented, had some scratches on it. There was even like a cut or gouge out of it. And after 32 years of not being in Canada, with Edmonton's Game 7 loss last week, we haven't won a cup here north of the border since 1993. Montreal Canadiens, Patrick Waugh and Guy Carbonneau, Pierre Turgeon and the boys. It's been a long haul for Canada here, and the Cup's battle scars, while they're not new, there are still a bit of damage from the Bruins, so he's possibly endured worse. But the keepers of the Cup, they have their work set out for him to get him ready for next year. With the Oilers, Connor McDavid's 26 playoff points, they fell short, and some felt, I guess, up here north of the border and out west, that he should have maybe won the Conn Smythe, and Florida's back-to-back titles, led by Bobrovsky's 2.11 goals against average. Some would say that cements their dynasty, winning 2 out of the last 3 cups. But as we mentioned on an earlier podcast, there's $6 million in cap space with only 18 players signed. I don't think that same team's coming back next year. Aaron Ekblad will be a free agent on July 1st. And for Canada, well, we may be able to go after him a little bit with one of our 6 teams. And the Oilers, with a near, they almost made it, but their cap space is real thin too. In fact, it's worse than the Panthers one, so they're going to be in tough this summer. And their GM has already said this is not going to be the same Edmonton team next year. And Toronto and Winnipeg will likely be able to go after some of the free agents that are dropping off from the Florida Panthers. Well, let's see. I don't know about this narrative that people have out there about Canada's cup drought. Basically, if you look at Canadian teams, this isn't a curse. It's about their inability to build rosters. And for whatever reason, hopefully they will build some teams next year that are able to shift that narrative a little bit and get the monkey off the back, as it were, and allow a Canadian team to lift the cup. Now, hopefully by then he's had some chance. Lord Stanley's Cup has had a chance to recover so that whoever does win it next year will have a nice, shiny, well taken care of cup to hoist when the time comes. So, those are the top stories from this week. So we're going to do a quick little reflection here and see what you guys think of these stories. So what a week. We had the Pacers forcing a Game 7 that it goes tonight, 8 o'clock, so about an hour from when this debuts. Devers shaking up the AL East, and the Cup bearing Canada's hockey heartache. So, I don't know how tonight's game is going to go. I'm not one for predictions. But it would be okay if either team won, really, because neither of these teams, unless you took OKC back to Seattle, has even won the Larry O'Brien Trophy in a very long time, if ever, in some cases. So it'll be good to see, no matter who it is that wins this title. Again, recapping, we had Devers traded to San Francisco, and we had Lord Stanley getting banged up a little bit. And so let's see, what else can we have here? So, for tonight's game and July 1st, as free agency starts, catch the game, as we said, on Sportsnet. And let's see how the next series plays out for the Jays. And use the hashtag sports or True North Sports Talk and let us know who you think is going to win tonight between the Pacers and the Thunder. And let us know, using the same hashtag, who you think the Blue Jays should trade or target via trade to bring them up in their thing. And can next year, Canada, can they end their drought? Drop your thoughts. And we'll be back with you next time to see what stories we can find to just sit around and chop it up. Stay proud, Canada. We love our sports. And Peter Barclay here saying, I will see you next time.